Yesterday, I tracked every minute of my workday. Writing emails, 47 minutes. Meetings, 180 minutes. Meetings that could have been emails, 178 minutes. Staring at my phone wondering where the day went, priceless.
But here's what's wild. For most of human history, nobody got paid by the hour. You got paid for the thing you made, the field you plowed, the sheep you sheared. Time was just time.
Then, someone invented the idea of selling time itself, and suddenly, every second had a price tag. I'm Jenny, and today we're exploring how pricing time reshaped how we work, live, and value our efforts. From sundials to smartphone apps, we're discovering how humanity went from work until the job's done to that'll be 47.5 billable hours, please. The price of time, a short history of paying by the hour. Before the clock, task-based life.
Let me take you back to a time about 3,500 years ago. Timekeeping existed, sure, but not down to the fractional nanosecond like today. We're talking sundials, hourglasses, water clocks. But these mostly told you when to pray, when markets opened, or when city gates closed.
In most places, there wasn't a formal lunch break as we know it. People generally ate when work and daylight allowed. No formal lunch hour and just snacking when you can. Honestly, that's a system my modern self fully supports. Different cultures measured work differently. In medieval Europe, you might be paid by the piece. So many coins per shoe made. Hopefully, you made more than one shoe per customer. In China's Tang Dynasty, many officials received annual stipends, commonly denominated in grain and cloth, including silk. Many indigenous communities in the Americas practice forms of communal labor and shared outcomes, varying by nation and region. While complex, these models were rooted in mutual care.
Imagine polling the 19 people you share wages with if you can splurge on a novelty mini waffle maker for your cubicle. Seems tricky, but the point is, in most contexts, people weren't counting minutes.
My grandmother still thinks this way. Ask her how long it takes to make soup, and she'll say, until it's ready. Ask her hourly rate for teaching me to cook, and she looks at me like I've lost my mind. Some things resist the clock. The monastery invention, scheduled time. Scheduled time in Europe was strongly shaped by monastic prayer cycles, which helped spur the development and spread of early mechanical clocks. Monks needed to pray at specific times, matins at midnight, lauds at dawn, vespers at sunset. In many towns, monastery and civic bells structured daily rhythms, and people often timed activities around bell schedules.
Meet me after vespers
became a way to arrange meetings. Time became public, shared, and more locally synchronized. Mechanical clocks spread to town halls in parts of Europe, giving communities a shared local time, long before standardized regional time in the 19th century. Imagine the first generation to realize that noon meant the same exact moment for everyone in their town. The factory bell. Time becomes money. The Industrial Revolution reshaped the equation. Factory owners needed hundreds of workers to arrive and leave at the same time. The solution? Factory bells, and later, the time clock.
The modern punch clock is widely credited to Willard Bundy in 1888. Workers inserted a card, the machine stamped the time, and suddenly your hours were officially tracked.
This little machine fundamentally changed the relationship between workers and time, then subsequently between workers and management, and eventually between workers and the clock itself. See, lingering a little bit too long in the break room. British factories popularized the factory whistle. American mills broadly adopted punch card timekeeping. Japanese textile factories became known for rigorous time management. By 1900, across most of Europe, the US, and parts of Asia, growing numbers of industrial workers were selling their time, not just their skills.
As work time became measurable, limits became enforceable. The 8-hour movement gathered force in the late 19th century, with timekeeping helping document and enforce limits. The same tool used for control also provided evidence for reform.
The hourly wage revolution. Paying by the hour solved certain problems. It was predictable for employers, standardized for similar work, and relatively easy to calculate. But it also created new questions. How much is an hour worth? Does experience make your hour more valuable? What about dangerous work? Silly work? Silly, dangerous work? Different regions developed different approaches. In Australia, the 1907 Harvester Judgment articulated a fair and reasonable basic wage, foundational to living wage thinking, intended to support a worker and family. In Latin America, export agriculture often relies on piece rate pay, while manufacturing and service jobs more often paid by the day or hour. Soviet factories in the late 1920s tested a continuous 5-day workweek, the Непрерывка, a short-lived attempt to reorganize work time. Machines ran constantly, They eliminated weekends, with each worker assigned to one of 5 rotating rest days that rarely synced up with family and friends. Yeah, it collapsed in the 1940s. More like never, Rivka.
The hourly wage changed how people thought about time itself. Time is money went from metaphor to literal truth. Lunch became a timed hour. In many countries, the modern weekend emerged as formal time off, often via Saturday half-holidays and Sunday rest.
I'd like to see someone try to give me half a Saturday. I don't think Sunday would be very restful. Oh, I would just complain to myself a ton. I'm a pacifist. What's fascinating is how quickly humans adapted to selling time. In just a few generations, we went from task-based work to tracking almost every minute. The professional class, billable hours. US law firms normalized billable hour tracking over the mid-20th century, with 6-minute increments becoming common by the 1960s. Instead of charging flat fees for services, they tracked every fraction of an hour. A phone call, billable. Research, billable. Explaining billable hours in a financially focused web series. Ironically, billable.
From big law firms to accounting, consulting, architecture, and design agencies, many professionals now bill their work by the hour and log it in tiny units, often in 0.1 hour, 6-minute increments. The model has become standard across professional services worldwide, even as each region adapts it to local practice.
The digital revolution. Time tracking everywhere. Now we've digitized the whole process. Time tracking apps, productivity monitors, keystroke counters. Freelancers can track time to the second. Some time tracking apps even take periodic screenshots to verify activity. The gig economy made many roles explicitly about selling time. Rideshare pay typically mixes per minute and per mile rates, plus base and surge. Online tutors sell lessons in neat or 30-minute blocks. Human content moderators on big platforms are expected to review hundreds of posts per shift, often with only a few seconds per decision. In many sectors, time has become atomized into smaller and smaller sellable units. And this trend spans regions. In India, for example, gig delivery drivers often navigate apps that push them to shave seconds off their routes, sometimes putting speed above safety. In Kenya, online workers bid on microtasks measured in minutes. In the Philippines, virtual assistants track time across multiple time zones. The whole world is on various clocks, each running differently. The paradox of productive time.
Here's the puzzle. We can measure time more precisely than ever, but understanding productivity remains complex. Some studies estimate that knowledge workers log only a few genuinely productive hours within a typical 8-hour day.
Yet, many workplaces still measure value by hours present, not outcomes delivered. Some companies are testing results-only work cultures that flip the old model. Instead of tracking hours at a desk, managers focus almost entirely on whether agreed outcomes are delivered. It's a twist. The digital age may be bringing us back to something older, a modern version of task-based work. Only now, instead of weaving baskets or shearing sheep, we might be writing code or making slide decks. The tools evolve, the logic, maybe not so much. Other places are just trimming back required hours. Some Japanese companies have piloted 4-day work weeks, and several European firms have tested 6-hour days in limited trials.
I'm still waiting on a company to pilot my patented 1-day workweek. If it seems too lax, I can assure you we'll have a very strict snack break policy.
Time zones and global work. The internet compressed collaboration across time zones. Morning here, evening there, on top of an already standardized global time system. I can have a morning meeting with someone in Singapore when they're eating dinner. Freelancers work follow the sun schedules, passing projects through time zones. Although for coders, it's probably more like follow the moon. This creates new challenges. When does the workday start if your team is in 12 time zones? How do you price an hour of work when currency values and living costs vary globally? The same hour of coding can be priced very differently between Silicon Valley and Bangalore. Maybe the strangest thing is that we're still using industrial age time concepts for information age work, like using a sundial to time a microwave. I think that metaphor makes sense. Ugh, burn my popcorn. Conclusion. So, here we are, descendants of farmers who worked with seasons, now selling our minutes to the highest bidder. We transformed time from a natural flow into a commodity, and that transformation shaped modern work culture in ways we're still figuring out. At Remitly, we help people send money across time zones. Those transfers represent more than money. They're time transformed into support, hours converted to care. So after all this, I guess tracking your time down to the minute isn't so weird. Maybe even medieval monks had their own version of just 5 more minutes, but they didn't have spreadsheets calling them out for it. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, hit like and subscribe for more content that tackles topics that I think are worth discussing. Drop a comment with what you'd like to see next. I'm always up for covering something new.